This is Saurabh, and you're listening to my favorite talk show, the Weekly Show with Aditya.
This is episode 202 on the 1st of May 2020.
This is Saurabh, and you're listening to my favorite talk show, the Weekly Show with Aditya.
The one good news emerging out of this pandemic and stay at home orders is that the obsolete, outdated board exams have come to a halt. And it's time for the Indian education system and the multiple educational departments and educational boards to bring about a wholesome change as far as the idea and the ideology of the Indian education system is concerned, and that includes abolishing the obsolete and the outdated exams. Whether it's the exam for schools or for higher institutions, it's an opportunity to reset the entire education system. Be aggressive during this period and change the way the Indian education system functions. But by the looks of it, this may take some time as our obsession with conducting exams, whether in the offline or the online mode, will continue for a while. This shows in the attitude of the various administrations. One of the administrations have gone as far as to suggest that since these outdated and obsolete board exams which are conducted for grades 10 and 12 every year between March and April are not feasible due to the current mythological pandemic, this administration suggested that evaluate students through other outdated means such as internal exams. This particular administration has asked the higher educational department to evaluate and pass students of classes 10 and 12 on the basis of their scores in internal examinations, just as it had done for students of class 9 and 11. For me, this sends a very poor message to students that you will pass or fail if you do well in your internal exams means that entity called pre-boards, the practice exams which happen before the actual exams in November, December. The result of those exams are generally not taken seriously. But hypothetically, if this proposal goes through, it will seal the fate of students going on to the next grade or attempting a shot at their preferred college. Because of this change has been brought about, or this suggestion has been mooted. But for me, even this suggestion is obsolete as it restricts a student's ability to show their skills and their understanding of a subject, that they will be evaluated through exams conducted by schools, especially for grades 10 and 12. Once again, despite the clarion call for adopting a new educational policy, we are once again falling back on the sword and going back 40 years. This is an anachronistic move. This will set back the Indian education system back by over 100 years, as it will tell students that your assessment, your evaluation will be only done on those exams where you mug up and write answers, and then the teachers will evaluate you based on their whims and fancy, which has been going on for the past 5 to 6 decades. The administration representatives said that other states have their own state board, but Delhi has CBSE, that is Central Board of Secondary Education, as its board. Most CBSE students come from Delhi. Therefore, the administration appeals to the Union HRD Minister and the HRD Ministry that the CBSE is asked to take a similar route for promoting the students as it proposed for classes 9 and 11. In these uncertain times, I don't know if we will be able to conduct examinations again. So, on the basis of same formula like internal assessments, papers already conducted, and others, the students of class 10 and 12 too should be evaluated. Here, the operative word is uncertain times, and if examinations will ever be conducted again. And as I said, this is a golden opportunity to totally transform the education system, irrespective of whether it's for the school system or the higher educational institutes, by doing away with these obsolete exams and adapting a more practical approach. Evaluating students only on the basis of such examinations sends a poor message that we are set back by 100 years. We have a limited way to evaluate students, and the administrations and the governments and other institutions involved with the education system have to come up with a much novel method. Going by the looks of the kind of suggestions that are coming from various administrations, this idea of assessing students apart from just the examinations conducted looks like a pipe dream and an impossibility that the Indian education system will ever go beyond exams. It's not just the school passing exams, it's also the various multiple entrance exams which affect a student's entry into an elite higher educational institution, or as they are called in other parts of the world, the Ivy League. This shows the fatal flaw that is part of the education system and how we have to remove this as soon as possible. Otherwise, exams, evaluation, assessments, and all these obsolete ideas will continue to be a part of this system. Hence, passing and failing is a part of the psyche of the Indian student and has been for the past 5 to 6 decades. It won't be easy to adapt to a new method in the short time, but it also allows the various education boards, the Central Education Board, and the department responsible for running the same to take opportunity of this break that the students have got, sit down, evaluate the situation, and look forward to the years to come. Maybe the year 2020, it's too late to have new assessments. So what should be done is that instead of forcing upon schools to evaluate students based on board exams, the students could be evaluated based on assignments and other such practical based purposes. Because when students will be evaluated on the basis of the internal exams, whichever they gave in the year 2019 during the period of November to January, it is but a universal truth that bias will creep in from the point of view of teachers, because teachers will know which students are they assessing, are they evaluating, compared to the board exams where for the teachers the students are anonymous, so they don't have that kind of bias and prejudice ingrained in them. But if the students are assessed on the basis of pre-boards and other internal assessments, bias will creep in. Moving on from the school system, what examination proposals are being proposed by the higher educational institutions? Recommendation for the higher educational institutions as far as the examinations and the assessment go include the option of open book assessments or objective type question based tests to conduct the final exams of the present session. They can shorten the exam duration from 3 to 2 hours based on the need. Since the officials don't trust the students that they would not cheat, these examinations would be conducted through in camera proceedings. While I endorse and understand the objective type questions, which can replace the written type examinations, which is still a better way to assess someone, the term examination needs to be removed from the vocabulary in the first place. Shows an anachronistic mindset if the only thing that is troubling the various educational departments is the evaluation process of the 10th and 12th papers, as well as conducting the examinations of the higher educational institutions. This is not a rational thought at this point. If the only thing in our mind is about evaluations and also suggesting the idea of passing or failing students through internal assessments and pre-boards and other such evaluation methods, then it shows the myopic thinking of these educational departments. Rather, what they should be doing is using this lockdown and stay at home orders and also take advantage of this situation where exams have come to a complete halt to go for an overall reformation and revolutionize the Indian education system and lead it by example for other countries to follow. Because, in short, such measures of just evaluating the papers for the sake of evaluation or evaluating students through exams conducted by school, especially for classes 10th and 12th, which are considered important with respect to their careers and other such outdated ideas, it is not at all friendly for the students. Rather, it puts extra pressure. As I said, this is not a student friendly approach. And I read an article which showed that how one institution was leading the way in a more student friendly view. The International Institute of Information Technology, Hyderabad, which has decided to do away with formal final examination and instead distribute its weightage to less stressful and more hands-on components like assignments, projects, quizzes, reports, etc. And for me, this is the model that should be adopted by the educational spectrum all across, irrespective of whether it is the school system or the higher educational institutes or any other examination system, whether it's the state boards or the central board or institutions like UGC, AICTE. This is the best way to to evaluate a student. And what is the way? More hands on and less stressful components like assignments, projects, quizzes, reports, etc. Such components will allow students to benefit from their experience of spending time in an educational institution and also learn something instead of being subjected to highly stressful situations like final exams and other tricky processes of evaluation where the learning is zero. Examinations are like quicksand. Once they suck you in, it's difficult to breathe, and you have to grasp for every bit of air. Once they deprive you of all the oxygen and the cognitive power needed to understand a subject beyond mugging and just reiterating for those anachronistic, obsolete, and outdated exams. Instead, evaluations should be done through assignments, projects, and other such student friendly and less stressful methods, whether it is the school education or higher education, whether it is the online or the offline mode. It's time for a short break. I will be back very soon.
This is Saurabh, and you're listening to my favorite talk show, the weekly show with Aditya.
I welcome you back after the break, and now let's move on to something more entertaining, something more of the entertainment side of things.
This is Saurabh, and you're listening to my favorite talk show, the weekly show with Aditya.
TV shows like Special Ops, Sacred Games, and The Family Man were the life jacket thrown to the capsizing Indian TV shows as a whole, specifically in the law enforcement and spy thriller genre. Before these three brilliantly scripted and acted out TV shows came into the limelight, we had to do with bizarrely scripted TV shows like CID and Crime Patrol. CID and Crime Patrol and many such shows are part of the law enforcement genre, but they are an insult to the idea of law enforcement as a whole, even if these TV shows are fictional. This is the only way to get an idea of what the actual law enforcement does, how are procedures carried out, how are investigations carried out. These two TV shows and many others exploited the fact that the individuals watching these TV shows have little or no knowledge of the law enforcement procedures, the various Indian Penal Code laws, and these TV shows, bizarrely scripted, just washed away of all the actual procedure of going through an investigation. The research carried out to understand that how the law enforcement works in India, especially with respect to TV shows like CID and Crime Patrol, was atrocious. So they used their own imaginations to create this show. And despite the knowledge that such TV shows are an insult to the idea of law enforcement, it still became endearing to one and all for reasons which befuddle me till today. In contrast, what do TV shows like 24, Homeland, Covert Affairs, Nikita, Get Smart, Blacklist, and others have in common? They are legends as far as the spy thriller and the law enforcement genre is concerned, especially outside India. It is a universal truth that till today Nobody exactly knows how the law enforcement works, whether be it in India or outside, but at least these aforementioned TV shows, at least for 75% part of its script and acting, they showed a semi accurate idea of what law enforcement and the spy thriller genre does when it comes to real life, while the 25% was based on pure fiction. The 75% accuracy of these TV shows, it did not cross a line. It did not cross the bizarre line. TV shows like Special Ops, Sacred Games, and The Family Man were a life jacket. Life jacket needed to save the capsizing and drowning Indian TV shows as a whole, especially in the law enforcement and spy thriller genre. Let's take a deep dive into these TV shows. The relative success of India's first TV spy thriller faction genre, The Family Man, led to the creation of the factional TV show Special Ops. While the plot and the treatment of the two shows might be chalk and cheese, but in a series of successive TV shows, it is the third one after Family Man and Sacred Games to deal with the emergence of spy thrillers, an unknown quantity in the Indian TV scenario, which were plagued by dullish family drama shows and poorly scripted, colorless, unimaginative, and appalling CGI supernatural thriller shows. Just as 9/11 changed America's attitude in terms of looking at the world when they pressed the reset button on how their external and internal federal agencies would change their SOPs while dealing with the idea of terrorism. Similarly, the events of Parliament 2001 and attacks in Bombay in 2008 brought about a selfish change in Indian citizens and the government at large. Creators of this show, using these events as the background but without unnecessary masala, show the lives of undercover agents who work under constant pressure. Family Man, the entire plot revolves around Srikant Tiwari, who races against time to stop a prominent attack on Indian soil. Himmat Singh, like Tiwari, believes in showing rather than telling. Creators have used the flashback and the flash forward techniques to explain the story. Himmat Singh is the narrator as he explains and justifies to an inquiry committee the reasons behind large cash transactions and how he cultivated his assets who are working in different parts of the world to catch the perpetrators behind these attacks. One important thing to understand is that Himmat Singh has a desk job. He is not a field agent. He is the mentor to these young undercover agents he has cultivated over the years. Common link between Family Man, Sacred Games, and Special Ops is the neighboring country. Using elements of facts, fiction, and dramatization, the creators have exploited the ubiquitous and the mysterious relationship between India and Pakistan and how Sartaj Singh, Srikant Tiwari, and Himmat Singh were not only eccentric but using their unique skills as an investigator race against time to stop attacks on Indian soil. The one subtle point in this TV show is the inquiry committee. The creators skillfully show how the investigation agencies are caught in bureaucratic red tape when they initiate the said committee to grill him on those unexplained cash transactions, and how, despite his best efforts to explain why said transactions happened and why he cannot give details due to the clandestine nature of his investigation, the committee grills him too. The creators mock the buffoonery of the bureaucracy, who are loath to understand what is happening, and their only concern is why so much money is being spent, and refuse to believe that his reasons should remain cloak and dagger.
This is Saurabh, and you're listening to my favorite talk show, the weekly show with Aditya.
This ends episode 202 on the 1st of May 2020. Stay tuned for the next episode.
This is Saurabh, and you're listening to my favorite talk show, the weekly show with Aditya.